Leafy Concern here, and I'm just going to go through some of my music books, all the music books that comprise this little shelf of music books that I have. I'm really proud of the collection. I haven't read them nearly enough. I love reading music right now at this point in my life. I love reading music books. I feel I should read them more, and I'm excited to have such a collection that enables me to read more on these topics. So I'm just going to go through them one by one in no particular order, just really quickly. Musicophilia by Oliver Sacks. This one's been remaindered. Oliver Sacks is a favorite of many of my friends. I think this is going to be great. It's like various musical topics. Next, we've got a book that I got for Christmas many years ago, which is one of my favorite books on music that I've ever spent any time reading. It's about some of Bach's habits and what it's like to conduct Bach. I think the author is like a prolific conductor of Bach. It's this golden book that's really nice. The cover is designed by Peter Mendelsund. This is a really nice book, and it's a gift that I will never forget. This is I forget where I found this. Maybe at like a university library sale. Hindemith's Traditional Harmony. If you know more about this as a foundational work of music theory, please enlighten me. Send me an email, leafyconcern@gmail.com, and talk to me about it. And to people who have emailed me at leafyconcern@gmail.com and I haven't been as good at responding, I'm sorry, but I think I'll get better at that over time, the more I have that email address. I have this Duke Ellington reader. This is better than it even looks. I mean, it's like this thick Oxford press. It's definitely from some professor's old library, and it's well highlighted, and there are a bunch of reviews and accounts about Duke Ellington. And this will give you a lot of ideas for things to save on Spotify. I'm really glad to have this book. This is actually a really good book to just open at random and flip through. I highly recommend picking this up if you see it anywhere. If you see it like a thrift shop or something, even if it's battered, like pick it up. If you're interested in music, or even if you're not, because there's just great music writing in there from many years. This I'm really excited about. This is an extremely heavy hardcover, also designed by Peter Mendelsund. The cover is these foot tracks in snow, which is just such a freaking good idea. Those plain white covers where the drawing is really simple and evocative. That's like one of Mendelssohn's strong suits. See his covers for the Calvino books. But this is about a composer I want to know more about, and I mean, it's just a no-brainer. The fact that I've been saving it just indicates how excited I am to read it. It's like, how many pages? Like 400 something, 469. I'm filming this video in sort of low light, but that's what you get sometimes. Bill Evans, How My Heart Sings. I think this is like a biography. I really like Bill Evans. A nice paperback book. Yale University Press, great press. And then I've got a couple of these 33 and a halves, 33 and a thirds. Bitches Brew and American Recordings by Johnny Cash. And I've read the Bitches Brew one. I'd really like to reread it. I liked the connections that it made between Bitches Brew, between jazz and the music concrete and stuff like that. And I liked all the stories of the recording process for Bitches Brew. And this one I haven't read, but I'm extremely excited to read. I think it's a little thicker than the one about Miles Davis. We've got Phrasing and Articulation. I haven't read this one. I think I may have flipped through it. It might be a little bit dense for me, more like class. Just in-depth on the slur, in-depth on staccato. This is actually a very fascinating book. Norton never disappoints. This I should read ASAP. Now here's a book that I wanted for a long time. I saw it in the used bookstore a lot. I still haven't read like a sizable portion of it at all. But it's this like 800-page encyclopedia of, I guess, like accounts of the history of jazz and of the practice of jazz. And then there's also a bunch of scores in the back of it, in the back of the book that show different like solos and different figures that are described elsewhere in the book. So this is just a really great book, and of course it's like a no-brainer to have and to read, And it's like the Duke Ellington reader. You can kind of open up anywhere and enjoy it. I just need to spend more time with it. This is Matthew Guerrieri. The first four notes, Beethoven's Fifth in the Human Imagination. Another Peter Mendelssohn cover, I believe. Don't even need to explain this too much. This is just really cool, and I've definitely got to read that. it's like very exciting the way that book H for Hawk is exciting. It's just like a cool idea. It's like, oh, it's about a bird. Oh, it's about Beethoven's Fifth. You know, it's like I love books with a very focused topic that go in depth, and I feel like this is gonna be really good. This is a composer that I've sung songs by, Britten, a book on his War Requiem, and it's Cambridge Music Handbooks. I would like to have more books in this series. They seem to be on good topics. Haven't read this one. This one also seems to be dense. There is a bookmark in it from Borders. Shout out Borders. You have really, look at this. This is such a classic Borders. This is like probably worth thousands of dollars. Wow. This is amazing. Amazing Borders bookmark. So anyway, I'll probably leave that in there for now. Next up, we have Frontiers of Jazz. I expect that this is going to be sort of like the Duke Ellington Reader, a bunch of like journalism about it and reviews from a cool era. I've held on to it for a while. I've held on to this book for several years because I know I'll enjoy reading it. Parallels and Paradoxes, Explorations in Music and Society. I like Edward Said. I like the intro to Joe Sacco's book Palestine that he did, and this is going to be kind of like Musicophilia. Just a bunch of random stuff about music, I think. I'm really confused about this book, which means that I'm sort of prioritizing reading it. I feel like there's a lot of mystery surrounding it. What do they mean, paradoxes? You know, musical paradoxes? Is that like Gödel, Escher, Bach? The structure of music. I've actually read half of this book. I sort of liked it. It was just giving me good ideas. I think Virgil Thompson is a really foundational, like, American journalist. Somebody check me on that, but I think there's like a Library of America book of Virgil Thompson. Anyway, this is kind of a great book, and I had to tape mine up with masking tape because it's kind of broken down the middle, but I pointed out earlier that all polyphonic music has horizontal and vertical aspects, 2 dimensions, represented by melody and chord. You know, just good stuff like that. Good to reiterate. Like how in that other book that I'm going to make a video about, you got to point out how that photography made conceptual art seek to distinguish itself from like photographable art, you know, the stuff like that where it's obvious once you say it, but it's just worth saying. Contemporary choral arranging, found this at McKay's. Me and my crew always want to get better at arranging voice parts. I'm not good at it. I could stand to get better. And so I found this for about $5. This really nice hardcover. What press is it? Prentice Hall. Yeah, like a really good like textbook. You know, this is something that you would have if you were at like Berklee School of Music or something. Chopin, the Man and His Music. Gosh, I want to read this so bad. I want to read that so bad. Indivisible by Four by a member of the Guarneri Quartet, I believe. The Guarneri String Quartet is fabled for its unique longevity and its virtuosity. It's about like, I think it also deals with like injuries incurred during like repetitive stress injuries. This is a must read. I think like the ones I'm most excited about are this one, Chopin, Parallels and Paradoxes, I think Phrasing and Articulation I'm really excited about. American Recordings I'm really excited about. Bill Evans and Schubert, and also my Bach. Traditional harmony I'm not really that excited about, but like the Bach, like yeah, Bach, Schubert, Bill Evans, Johnny Cash, Phrasing and Articulation, like this, who knows what's in that, Chopin. I mean, there's just like a lot of great, you can't go wrong with any of these books here. And then like last but not least, I have this like cool book, you know, comment if you know anything about this, but this is like just this really cool little volume of the musical instruments of India by Krishna Swami. And it's in this like, it looks like almost like a handmade hardcover edition. Instruments of India, Musical Instruments of India. It's just like written in pen on it, this description of it. And it's got, I'll do this in the light. It is, I think it looks like an ex-library book. And it has, you know, pictures of the various instruments. It's sort of bound really tight in the middle. But it's got pictures of like statues holding the instruments. It's got yeah, lots of pictures of statues, and then descriptions of various instruments that are on like later pages. Like for instance, sarangi, sarangi. It takes a prominent place as an accompaniment. You gotta kind of open up the middle, like really, to the main artist in a musical concert in the north. So this has been kind of a whirlwind, but I just wanted to do a little short tour of all of the music books in my music library. These are all worth going back and visiting. If I had a book off the top of my head that I'd like to add to my music library, it would be The Life of Beethoven. I think it's called Beethoven, The Life and the Music. And it's by some like Harvard emeritus professor. And it's a pink spine. And it's a very popular, I think it was published by Knopf or something. It's like a big Beethoven biography. I remember really enjoying reading some of that I read. I think also in my music library, I would probably also include this book by Vikram Seth. Is that how you say it? Vikram Seth, I think it is. I think it's more like a T than a T. Oh gosh, I should think twice before broadcasting embarrassing things like on YouTube. But it's about, this book, I really like the book A Suitable Boy. And I read like the first 20 pages of this enough to know that I would really enjoy the novel. It's like a long time ago when I read the start of Freedom by Jonathan Franzen, I knew that I would really like that novel. Like one time when I read the beginning of Nightwood, I knew I would love that, and I sort of set it aside. Ditto with a bunch of other books. Like Bleak House was also like that, and this is another example of that. But it's about a violin soloist, and I think it's somewhat autobiographical, but it's just this really nice book. I found this really cheap at McKay's a while ago, and I've also held on to it for years, kind of like I've held on to the Frontiers of Jazz book. Anyway, at a glance, a giant, really like a giant blessing of a collection of books on music. There you have it. Read about whatever interests you.